What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the video. This is going to be just a quick update on my 40-day vegan Daniel fast journey because I am now a week in. So I wanted to give a little update how I'm doing, how it's going so far, kind of effects, results, how I'm feeling about the whole thing. Because for any diet like this, the first week is probably going to be the trickiest in trying to make that transition into it, and then from there the kind of updates to go are not as significant. So week one, here's how it's been. The difficulty of it, I will say, has been pretty low. I wouldn't say that it's been super difficult, and I think that's because I transitioned into this really well. For the month or so before, I kind of knew that I was going to do this. I had the idea of doing this 40-day thing. So the month leading up to it, I had kind of started cutting out a lot of animal products, like I've mentioned, like I showed in a video beforehand. So I started cutting back on my dairy products, cutting back on my meat proteins. So it was a pretty easy transition because I only had to cut out, like I said in the kind of intro video to this, I'm only cutting out whey protein, which I replaced with a vegan protein, and cutting out chicken, which I've tried to replace with other proteins, which I will talk about as well in this video. But following it up to this point, not super difficult, and I wouldn't say that I've had a ton of cravings either. It hasn't been difficult for the sake of wanting to eat foods other than whole food vegan food products, because I actually have been enjoying a lot of the foods I've eating. I've been able, because I transitioned into this fairly well, I was able to become accustomed to the kind of foods I'd be eating on a day-to-day basis, figure out what kind of stuff I like. So I eat a lot of the same stuff every day, but I enjoy it. Part of the deal is that just I'm not a picky eater whatsoever. If I was, this might be a little harder, but I'm enjoying eating a lot of peas and beans and rice and peppers and onions and oatmeal and fruits and vegetables and all this kind of stuff. Nuts is really not that bad for me. It was a lot of my diet anyways, was a lot of oatmeal, a fair amount of fruit, rice. But I'm generally a fan of whole foods, and the draw of eating healthy, the health factor of foods kind of draws me to foods more than the taste factor. I generally find, I think probably because of my fitness orientation, that I eat often, or my perception of food is often more as a food for function than food for enjoyment or food for pleasure kind of approach. So in terms of following along on this so far, not a ton of cravings, not a high level of difficulty, I would say, which has been pretty good. Energy levels, another thing to comment on. How have I been feeling there? I will say decent, and that is somewhat relative because of this in a lot of ways depends on the total calorie amount that you eat in a certain day. And like I mentioned a few videos back when I showed my full day of eating video, I've been kind of just eating as many calories as I feel like my body needs, and maybe slightly less than that. So I've been in a clear calorie deficit for this entire past week. So relative to that number, the fact that I'm below my calorie maintenance level, my energy has been pretty good. I don't feel super low energy, even though my calories are lower than where my natural energy threshold should be. My workouts haven't been super they haven't been bad. I've been feeling my energy's been pretty good during my workouts. I'm still able to eat fruit before a workout is usually what I would have done previously anyways. Just by the nature of the foods that I'm able to eat, it is a very high carb and really complex carbs diet. I'm eating a lot of carbs, 300 to 400 carbs a day. So I still have plenty of energy to go into the gym with. So energy levels and my workouts, even though I've been in a slight calorie deficit or a clear calorie deficit, it has not really been that bad at all. Another factor that impacts is my weight. how has like my physique, my body changed, how has my weight changed, and my weight has gone down a little bit, which has been somewhat intentional, has been something that I've been like understanding that I'm in a calorie deficit. I know that my weight is going to drop, and I've been embracing it, embracing the fact that I'm going to get somewhat leaner in doing this, which is somewhat intentional at this point. But the interesting thing about it is the fact that this diet is so high in fiber that I'm holding a lot of water, I'm finding, which has caused, even though it's a pretty clear calorie deficit, my weight hasn't dropped a ton. I've lost maybe a half a pound over the past week, when relative to the amount of calories I'm consuming, I probably should have dropped slightly more weight. But because I'm eating so much fiber tends to hold a lot of water, so I'm holding a lot of that. But even though the weight hasn't, like my scale weight hasn't been dropping as much because of the fiber intake, my physique's actually looking pretty good. I'm looking like noticeably leaner, especially in the gym, in the mirror, that's always good. And the fact that I am looking a little bit leaner but not feeling super low energy, not feeling super like food deprived, is like, that is key, especially if your goal is fat loss, to feel that kind of way, which I think is due to the high amount of complex carbs and fiber. Fiber makes you feel really like satiated and fills you up really well. So I think that's a big factor in feeling like I'm not extra hungry, even though I'm in like a fat loss amount of calories in a calorie deficit. So overall health in general, I'm generally fairly a healthy individual, and I think a lot of that has to do just with diet overall. And I tend to eat pretty healthy because of my fitness orientation, because I think it's important. But I might say that I'm feeling slightly better in terms of just general health, which makes sense. Like, more fruits and vegetables you eat, the more whole foods you would eat, I would argue the healthier you are, like the healthier your organ function is, the less likely you are to get sick. So that's obviously a benefit. I wouldn't say it's crazy noticeable, but I haven't gotten sick in the past week, which I hardly ever get sick, but I mean, feeling healthy. So all pretty good things so far. The few issues that I would say that I have had, the first one, the very clear one, is the fact that I am consuming a ton of fiber. I'm consuming between like 80 to 90 plus grams of fiber a day, which when I was kind of trying to transition into this, just was not good for digestion. Like, I was in the bathroom a lot, and it was kind of clumping up in there. So the key is, the things that I've been focusing a lot on, the few changes I've made, is drinking a lot of water, because that helps a lot with the digestion process and it helps things move through me a little better. But also, I am taking a digestive enzyme twice a day, which is, I don't know how to pronounce this correctly, alpha-galactosidase, something like that. But just like a store brand digestive enzyme with that in it that helps particularly with fiber, digesting a high amount of fiber in your diet. I take that twice a day before 2 of my biggest meals, and that has been helping a ton. Like, clearly different, clearly beneficial to my digestion. So I would definitely recommend that for anyone who is consuming that much fiber, consuming like a plant-based diet in general. Really, with a high protein plant-based diet because that comes with a lot of fiber, I would definitely recommend that. But also protein levels. Protein is a tricky thing, and maybe I'll talk more about this in a further video, but getting a adequate amount of protein per day for like muscle building purposes, for like holding on to muscle purposes, for it being in a calorie deficit, for trying to hold on to my muscle, kind of requires a high level of protein. But either way, I said my goal is around 150 grams of protein a day. It's been kind of tricky to hit that many grams of protein a day, and I would like to be higher, just because I have in the past I've made my body accustomed to consuming that much protein in a day. But the issue, like I kind of said with plant-based protein, is because most often it comes with fiber. So trying to consume more protein also kind of means consuming more fiber, also generally means consuming more calories. So trying to find like not as calorie dense protein sources for like whole food vegans it's kind of tricky. And I've been consuming a lot of the brown rice protein powder, but at the same time, brown rice is not a complete protein. So it doesn't stimulate as much of like protein synthesis, as much of a response as like a whey protein, as really any animal proteins would. So that's also, I would say, the second biggest drawback is very hard to get protein, and I don't feel like I'm consuming as much protein as I would like. But beyond those two things, in terms of just how I'm feeling and how it's going pretty good. I'll say it's not super difficult. I shouldn't have too much of a problem following through on this. I know it's only like 1 week in and I've got a long way to go, still like 5+ weeks to go. But right now, feeling pretty good about it. Will I continue beyond this? Who knows? We'll talk about that more when we get there. But that's the update. That's the 1 week update. And I will continue to be doing this for 40 days or 7 days in. So, you do the math. That's all I got. That's the update for today. If you got anything out of this video, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel because we are pumping out videos on this channel once again. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.